Good evening, everybody. I am Abir
Good evening.
Shinawi.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Doug Handy. Welcome to Real Talk, our space, and I am cutting up a little bit. A beer. It's 2 weeks, right?
I know it's been
It,
a
well,
while.
it's
It has
been
been a
what
while.
3 weeks, and I'm doing my math right. 2 weeks. I haven't been on set here in studio in
hmm
2 weeks with this beloved show of ours. So yes, I'm a little giddy. I'm glad to be back. Over the moon. So
Yes.
yes, yes,
Giddy like P. Diddy. Ho, 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 ho. Since we were just talking about P. Diddy.
yes, we
So,
were. We were.
yes, we are wrapping up our month of August with our last episode. We're going out with a bang. We had our monthly theme of Who Runs the World? Girls.
Girls.
And our last episode today will be, of course, the creation of my good friend Douglas. And we are focusing on hip hop, namely ladies of hip hop.
That's
So, we're
right.
excited about that.
Very excited indeed.
hmm
So much so, trying to get myself together. Okay.
I can
Yes,
tell.
yes. So it is about hip hop, and the listeners know. And we talked about it last time, right? So had a wonderful kickoff at the end of July, but hip
hmm
hop is near and dear to me. And I think what we're hoping to bring to our viewers and just the audience in general, just showing how hip hop moves throughout just multiple spaces. So it certainly
hmm
fits in well with our theme for the month on Who Runs the World,
hmm
and that's why we're going to focus on we're calling it Ladies First,
hmm
song made famous by
Queen
Queen Latifah.
Latifah.
So Bear said, if you all don't mention Queen Latifah on this
Somebody's
show,
getting fired.
right? So Queen Latifah and Moni Love
Yes.
with a landmark tune, Ladies First. So very excited to be here in this space. And before I forget, I got my Rhapsody shirt on. Where is it? My Rhapsody tour shirt on. Rhapsody saw her live in Silver Spring. Tremendous show. Love Rhapsody. So this isn't about me though. We've got guests. We've got a show to get to.
What did you want the viewers to do, Doug?
So I do have a request. Thank you for
hmm
reminding me.
Welcome.
And I see we're all in the chat. So welcome those in the chat. Just fill up the chat, the whole episode with your favorite female MCs and hip hop artists. We want to honor these ladies of hip hop. Curious as to who our viewers are into as far as female hip hop artists. Uh,
hmm
so definitely fill up the chat with that. And we know we always like to jump in the chat and cross
Yes.
over back into our episodes. So very exciting times ahead.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, flood us with that. So, ironically, so I wake up this morning and I'm checking my social media, and a good friend of ours, of course, Sahar, who now is saying that she said she's met Queen Latifah in Big Sur, California. Okay,
What?
between you and Doug, nobody likes a show off. All right. But Sahar, who is, I think, one of our best fans, right
Yes, love Sahar.
here, love
Appreciate
her so
you.
much.
Yes.
She posted about this group and this Palestinian female group called Ittijah. And they have a song that we'll share in a second called Bela Hudud, which means without borders. And it's pretty awesome because when we think about hip hop, we just think about particular group of people, but we see now how hip hop is transcending barriers and all of that. And also what's interesting is this is the picture of the ladies, young ladies. So it's called Meet the Palestinian Girls, who rap to tell their story of resistance, and that's basically what it is. And it's great because one of the quotes, and when you come into when you read the article about what the girls are saying, they specifically say, quote, rap taught me about rights that I did not know I had. Again, rap taught me about rights that I did not know I had. That's deep, because
Mm.
you're talking about girls who are in another country under, the Israeli occupation. You have their story of resistance. They're talking about a music and created another country, but how that taught them about the rights that they didn't know. And as females as well, I'm sure there are layers to it. So what I would like to do is share a short video clip of their rapping, because if anybody knows anything about Arabic it's a beautiful language. It's also not an easy language if we're talking about rap or music, but it's very poetic. So I thought I'd like to share with the audience a short clip of their video called Bala Hudud, which means without borders. Now, the video will show, and they're rapping in Arabic, but if you go to their YouTube channel, which we will also reference, it has subtitles, which is great because then it gives you more of a context of what they're describing. But in this rap, the girl is actually talking about the struggles that she's going through and looking in the mirror and wishing that she can see a different person and a different life for herself. So we're just going to share a little bit of that clip right now.
طلعت عحالي في المراية شفت بنت ما بتشبهني في النفسية والحياة طلعت علي البنت هاي من فوق لتحت حكت شوف الاختلاف أنا أحلامك حياتك اللي فيها كل شي بتتمنيه فيها عيونك الحلوات بتحب تشوف تعالي جنبي خلي راسك مرتاح بعيد عن الهموم غمضت عيوني رجعت للظلم العايش فيه الواقع اللي مربطني في الحركة والتفكير يا ريت لو كانت حياتي المسجونة في المراي ما بتردد بكسرها وبتروح كلها شظايا بس كسرت فيها نور في المراي
So again, if you want to watch the rest of the video, please go to their YouTube, which we will, reference. But I thought it was very powerful at how they came about to the music. And since we're talking about hip hop and females, their empowerment through using that music as well and transcending cultures. So I thought I would share that with everybody as well tonight.
Definitely right on time. Ms. Sahar has a comment on that about hip hop always appealing to communities that are marginalized. And that's how the roots of hip hop, that's how it all came about. And to watch that jump out and spread out, across the world.
Right.
Hip hop.
Right.
Yes.
So we have a couple people. That's right. I mean, Doug is loving it. If we're on the compass, he's in his feelings phase and he's very, very happy.
Squarely, right. And I know we have a guest, but
yes.
Shout out to Natasha Outlaw. Sweet Tea. It's nuts, right? It's my beat. Oh my. And MC Light all day, every day. So we
cannot talk about MC Light. Yes.
Oh my
V is talking about Yo-Yo was my favorite later. Lauryn Hill. Yes. Queen of hip hop. I would think so too. So
that's right. So the chat's got it going on. But we got
coming.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So we do have a very special guest today, and please subscribe as well. We always remind our viewers, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. Because if you're not able to watch the show, it's always recorded and uploaded later on YouTube. All right, Douglas, so what's our show today?
So it is with great pleasure that I introduce our guest for the evening. She is a passion-driven, award-winning educator and national speaker with more than 26 years of experience in K-12 and higher education, plus librarianship and educational technology. As a teacher for social justice, we're talking about Joquetta Johnson. Joquetta's favorite part of the job is leveraging technology, hip hop, and culturally relevant pedagogies to engage, empower, and enable all students to enjoy learning while achieving academic success and amplifying their voices. And her work has not gone unnoticed because in 2019, she was the recipient of the American Association of School Librarians. Rolled. I'm gonna answer that.
Rolled.
I'm sorry, it is rolled. Okay. Just make sure. Rolled. Thank you for the help. Rolled Dahl's Miss Honey Social Justice Award for her program, Lyrics as Literature, using hip hop to amplify voice and social justice. She's currently a specialist in the Department of Equity and Cultural Proficiency for Baltimore County Public Schools, and she is pursuing a doctoral degree in curriculum and teaching. Her research interest lies in the implementation of hip-hop-based education as culturally responsive pedagogy. She is Joquetta Johnson, and we welcome her to Real Talk. Hey.
The queen has arrived.
Yes.
I'm over here laughing out loud because I know I'm in the backstage, but I'm just over here laughing out loud. The dog like, it's so funny. He's in the feelings place. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yep, the compass, right? The compass. Yes. Welcome, Joquetta. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Love having your energy.
Yes.
So you know that topic is hip hop. So our first question for you is describe hip hop music in one sentence.
Okay, so in one sentence, I would say hip hop is the language of power, politics, party, and the people.
Ooh, power, politics.
Oh, rip. Let me grab the notebook. I was going to take a minute.
Power, politics, and power of the people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So that's triple P.
Yeah.
It's a triple P. Okay. So why would you say those three? Power, politics, and power of the people.
When I think about hip hop, I think about when we talk about its origins, right? Like how it started and it's the voice of the voiceless, black and brown sisters and brothers, right? And it gives them that empowerment that it talked about is why one of the reasons I like using hip hop with my students, right? To empower them, gives them a voice. Like you have to say, give a voice to the voiceless, but I think we all have a voice. It's just often silent. So I think it's different to saying not having a voice. And our voices are silent. So I think that's where the power comes from. And then the power, I mean, we can use it as we speak to speak all those political messages, right?
Yes.
Just think about the young ladies we just saw, right? Who was speaking, and I think it was, I can't remember who said like that hip hop was like the CNN for black people.
Yeah, Chuck
right?
said that. Yeah.
Right? And so like when no one was listening to us, this is why this is our voice. This is our tool. We own this, right? This is how we can kind of speak, right? And so that's why I think it's that part. But the hip hop also started out a place as fun and partying, right? So I can party with it. I can have a lot of fun with it. It's all of those things and other people. And those people can be any person, right? Even though we know oftentimes when we hear about rap, it's the, the marginalized or someone's using it for the power of politics. But then we also know, unfortunately, when hip hop started hitting the mainstream, it became commercialized, which is another conversation. But it is of the people, and however you decide those people are, man, woman, however you decide to identify. It is. That's what I said. Power of the people in a good party tune.
I love it.
Love it.
And you, as a library media specialist, I'm going to share the link and I'm going to share it right now. But you have a Padlet. I love Padlets. As a teacher educator, I love them as well. So I'm going to share with the good people your Padlet so people can get an idea, a little preview. So here it is. So you have books, multimedia, articles, video, Netflix, and your own publications. And this is, go ahead.
So the publication link is actually a link to my other Padlet that has all things hip hop ed in it, right? So it's like
here we go.
It's like the portal to everything else. So the one that I started in women, I'm just starting to beginning to build it. So it's dynamic. So it's constantly changing. So if there's some resources out there you think should be added, just hit me up and let me know. We'll add it. But yeah, so that is the piece. I like a place that's the librarian. We always got to have it and make it visually aesthetic because my kids, like when a student, right? No, it needs to be visually aesthetic. So
draw you in,
absolutely.
I love the Netflix one where people can also, because everybody, if you're in COVID right now, you watch. There's a lot of great. And you said this is a live document, so it's always changing,
and updating. Yeah. And my favorite one under the multimedia, there's a wonderful documentary called "My Mic Sounds Nice." Right there, the top one. And it's directed by Ava DuVernay.
Oh, DuVernay. There you go.
Yes. And it's all about the women of hip hop.
There you go.
Lovely.
Yes.
Got it.
There you
Wonderful. Go. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll have that on our Google sites as well. As everybody knows, when you go to our website, there's a Google site that we add with that information. So we'll be adding that as well. So thank you, Joquetta, for sharing that. I love it. I love it.
Joquetta, always a teacher, always the educator, shining light, helping us do the knowledge.
Yes.
So Joquetta, you're helping out. Well, we have listeners of all ages, I'm sure. Yes. But you had a very special program that you were doing with young people, with your students when you were there at the high school. Lyrics is Literature. Using hip hop to amplify student voice and social justice. Yes. The one that you won the award for. So talk to us about that program.
Okay, sure. So actually, the whole program, when we talk about Ronald Dahl and Miss Honey, maybe you may have heard the movie Matilda. You know Matilda? Something does like, what is Matilda?
I do.
I think I should have if I hadn't.
He also did James and the Giant.
James and the Giant.
Okay.
So in the Matilda story,
all of those.
Yeah. So Matilda is a story about this little girl and her parents who just are not the nicest parents. And she has this wonderful teacher, and they go to this school where the principal is mean and whatever. But the teacher always finds ways to engage the students, although the principal doesn't want them to have any fun while learning. So this teacher does all these cool, innovative things, even against what the principal says. And she was always advocating for this student, even though her parents thought she was, you know, the worst thing ever. She was brilliant. The student was brilliant. And so it was all about how this teacher amplified the student voice, embraced her, went against the grain, and did what it was best for her students. So that's the basis of the book. So that's the basis of the award. And so the award goes to librarians who had to show how they are amplifying student voice through a social justice lens, like the character, and also about how you collaborating with other teachers in the building, because the key part of when you're doing that librarian work is how you also collaborating. So my lyrics is literature, we call it a program, but it was just actually teaching. And I was like, let me package it all together. Came out of the Freddie Gray, the Freddie Gray uprising. And so basically what happened, we were doing library, we were having a practice. Evidence of practice protocol for library media specialists, and I collaborate with the English 12 teacher. So it was built again on English 12 curriculum when they did this thing on social justice. So the other part is oftentimes teachers say, well, I can't do this. It's not part of the curriculum, which is another conversation. But my thing is the curriculum is there. We just find ways to infuse what's already there and teach the skills. So they were already doing something on social justice, but I wanted to make it meaningful and relevant. How can we not talk about social justice and we in Maryland and Freddie Gray uprisings are happening? Like, how can you not talk about that? Well, you can, but y'all know me. I'm okay about it. But anyway, so I took that lesson and turned it into hashtag activism, right? Again, our kids, we're always telling kids about what not to do with technology. It's bad. It's but we know the power of a hashtag. Hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Me Too. So we talked all about those hashtags. So each lesson just build upon that piece, which was hashtag activism, where students had to pick a social issue of their choice, develop a new hashtag, and then create a social media campaign around it. And that's what started. Each lesson was built upon a song. So the first one was Stand with Common and what do you stand for? Then we moved to The Hate You Give the following year, which was rooted in Tupac. Right. And then when we did the Tupac piece, they had to create their own autobiographical tag because we know The Hate You Give was based on Tupac. Right. So we used that piece. And then we also did it was several of them. Then we did Childish Gambino, This Is America.
A great song.
And we analyzed those pieces, and then they created their own blackout poetry around a social justice issue of their choosing. So that was the whole piece. So each one kind of built upon, and each kid got an opportunity to speak their piece and just bring awareness to something and have opportunity to conversate around what was important to them, teaching all the skills that we needed to teach around using hip hop and lyrics, current events, music, whatever felt good for them is what we did. So that's it in a nutshell. Yep.
Lovely, lovely. And I saw you present that at a conference, and I was just blown away. And I remember the intro you were doing, you threw up some Jay-Z lyrics and some Shakespeare.
Yes.
And was challenging the audience to determine who was whose.
Yes.
So if you ever get a chance to see Joquetta present, you got, I mean, the energy is infectious. Just and she got some folks. The chat eating up. He likes the social justice. So
So I think the part about showing the lyrics is because there's so many misconceptions about hip hop.
Right.
That whole negative thing about what it is and what it isn't. And a lot of those negative connotations come from dominant culture saying this is what it is because you only know one part of hip hop, but they don't understand the whole piece of it. So I always try to challenge people, and when they realize the language of hip hop and some of the vocabulary.
Yes.
When we teach kids that way, vocabulary, and I use hip hop to teach research skills as a librarian. Okay, how boring can we talk about plagiarism, right? Like, oh my God, yawn, right? I'm just keeping it real.
Right.
But if you take hip hop and you start talking about remixing and sampling,
yes.
Now I'm talking about plagiarism, citing sources. All now, okay, I didn't think about it like that. So it's all about how you reach them. So hip hop.
Yeah, and we talked about a couple weeks ago on our show about Jay-Z sampling the Arabic song and the lawsuit and everything. There you go. That's plagiarism right there. So that's a great one. That's a great one. So when and how did you first connect with hip hop culture?
Wow. My first time with hip hop culture, I'm a child of the late 60s.
Mm.
It has to be the very first song that I remember was Sugar Hill Gang. I mean, today I can recite every word of Sugar Hill Gang, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that had to be whenever that first came out, the early 80s, around about that time. Yeah. So that was my first connection with hip hop. Like, and then from there it became like, of course, like Run DMC and old school. But then when I saw people like, as we mentioned, Queen Latifah, which we'll talk about, and then Salt and Pepper, Sonic and Roxanne Shante, like, okay, the ladies in that, like, oh my gosh. So that was my first connection personally with hip hop. And so my music taste is very eclectic. So I started out and still, playing classical violin for 6.5 years, right?
Oh, right.
So my music taste is all over the place, right? But I still connected with hip hop because it was hip hop.
Right.
Right. And then being able to see the evolution of hip hop today, where it's everywhere, hip hop, classical, hip hop. Check out Black Violins. If y'all not down with Black Violins, please watch.
Yeah.
I said it with my feet and feet, Black Violins. Talking about changing stereotypes and images, right? And also women in hip hop, check out Hiplet, which is the combination of ballet with hip hop dance.
Okay.
Amazing. Again, talking about how we take culture and make it our own, and you can combine it. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Watch it. Is he doing point in hip hop? Unbelievable. Wow. Anyway.
Wow.
So that was my first personal encounter with it. And then I started integrating it into teaching, not knowing I was doing hip hop pedagogy. All again, people always say, when did you start? I said, I was just trying to reach kids. I was tired of people coming into spaces saying these kids don't want to learn, they don't understand, it's boring. And I would watch teachers teach, and the kids are head down and they're bored, and then they're blaming the kids, and I'm like, I'm bored watching you. So
right.
I mean, I'm bored. Like, right? So I'm like, what do you do? It's not the kids, it's us. How we're delivering the information, right? They want to see themselves, they want to hear themselves. So you like blah blah blah.
Right.
Right. So that's how I began doing it in curriculum, just trying to find a way to reach out to kids.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's deep.
So, Joquetta, kind of a follow up to that last question.
Sure.
So I guess we talk about, and Abir and I were talking about this at the top of the show, really when we were getting ready. So you named some MCs. Any other aspects of hip hop culture that really drew you in? So we talk about the MC and the DJ and the break and the graffiti.
Well, we talk about the top 5, right? The MCing, the hip hop, the MCing, the DJing. You got your B-boys, your B-girls, you got your graffiti art, right? And then the other piece that people don't often talk about is the knowledge part of it, right? We drop knowledge. Some said it's actually 3 others, and that is language. It has its own language. It has its own fashion and street entrepreneurship. So those are the other ones that often are not mentioned when we talk about all the elements of hip hop. So I think the other one that drew me in definitely, was fashion, hip hop culture, fashion, right?
Right.
Even to this day, people who weren't even cool, you watch hip hop and you see everything, right?
Yep.
Right. It's hip hop also is like this embodiment, right? So I think when you look at the culture, definitely had to be the fashion. I think my other part of the culture that I love too was the DJing. Oh my God, mixing and scratching. I keep saying in my neck.
Skills.
I
Skills.
wanted to be a rapper, but I didn't really have the skills. So I rapped a little bit, a couple of times. But I really want to be
That's
a DJ.
what I'm trying to draw out of you.
I know. People like, can you spit rhymes? And when you tell people like you're doing research in hip hop and pedagogy, it's like, can you spit? It's like, no, stop thinking every time. I said, just because I drive a car doesn't make me a mechanic, okay? Yes, I just like the hip hop what it does for my students, but definitely fashion and the mix and like the art and science of mixing.
Yes.
And you see the skill set, and if I had a table, I would have it in my library. I would have 2 turntables. I'd be mixing. I would do all of it if I could.
Love it.
Put on your bucket list. Come on,
I know.
Dakota.
Teach me how to DJ. I got the app on my iPad and stuff, so I'm working on it.
There you go. So before we go to next
records,
next question, let's look at some of the comments, Doug.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got so we did that one question from Sahar.
Let me bring it up.
Yeah, can you get that one up there? And I don't know if Joquetta wants to comment on that. And definitely, I love your energy. Real hip hop is powerful. So like the chat is raring to go.
How can it be
fired up?
So how do you begin? Okay, let me say this. People always ask about hip hop and we talk about it as a culturally sponsored pedagogy, right? So you always say, because it reaches the kids. And I say all kids, although oftentimes you're using it dominantly with students of color. We know most students, nobody's monolithic, enjoy and recognize and connect with hip hop. I don't care. You have to be like underneath a brick if you don't know who Cardi B is.
Right.
Italian.
Right.
Yeah, we can talk about WAP, but we're not going to talk about worship and praise right now. But anyway. First recognize and understand. I think you have to be authentic when you're using it with your students. I mean, I think for some people, if you don't it's not a gimmick. It is an actual teaching tool and methodology, right? So often we're trying to get students engaged. And yes, it's a great way to get them in. But I feel like for me, when I'm using it, I don't use it as the hook. It's the entire lesson. Not to say that you can't use it as to engage them, but it is the teaching tool. It's not just what I teach. Hip hop is also how I teach. It's the content that I'm teaching, right? So it's a difference, right? So that's the understanding at how do you begin. So if you're new, right, and you really want to do this, you're trying to connect with your kids, it doesn't have to be anything big. When I first started doing it, right, one of the things, there are a couple of books that I use that had like these little basic activities, but then I had to always put my own little spice on it. And you have to figure out where you feel comfortable, right? And so just start with something. It may just start with a song and looking at lyrics. That's what I said, lyrics and literature, right? Look, and that's the entry level. That's where most people start. Here's a song. Here's the entry level part, and let's analyze it. So look at hip hop as like a nonfiction piece of text. And you can use it. I mean, think of some of the songs that you can look at. If you look at things like Kendrick Lamar, if you look at like, oh my God, we can go back, Grandmaster Flash. If you look at even some of the new stuff and just read it and look at it as text, not a song, and look at the artists as the authors, because they have written the piece, then analyze it. So my thing is the same way we have author studies. Why can't we have an artist study? Why can I not compare this piece of this song to another piece of literary work or that time period? The same way we look at literature in its time. What about music in this time period? What are the songs right now that's happening in this time? Like, think about all the songs, and I know every social studies class has that protest movement and the music. Okay, all of that, right? But what about the hip hop pieces? Those are protest songs, right? You can compare and contrast, right? So those is, I think, a great entry level point. Is like maybe just starting with a lyric or find the video. And I know that depending upon where you are and your school district, you have to be mindful, always check, see what's appropriate. And I always say that because I don't want nobody losing their good government jobs. I always was a rebel with a cause. And I was fortunate enough that I had administration to let me do what I needed to do was best for kids. I never got any pushback. But I also know that doesn't work for everybody, right? And you have to be authentic. But be authentic with it. And if you're not comfortable and you're not sure about it, tell the kids, I want to try something new. Just be honest. I mean, I think that's the best way for me to kind of get the start. And if it's not hip hop, but first of all, make sure it's something that your kids really like and want to do as well, right?
Right.
Let's not assume.
Right.
Let's not make assumptions, right? Even though more than likely, yes, but ask them. What song do you listen to? Would you like to do a lesson on such and such? Let them help. That's the other part of culturally responsive teaching, with the kids also part of the process. So I always did that. Like, what songs you listen? I actually have a list of songs that the kids would tell me I need to listen to.
Yeah, they're gonna let you know, right?
Yeah, they're gonna let you know.
Listen to that because that's not good. I said this is a no judgment zone.
Right.
I'm not going to judge you for what you, because you don't want you to know what I'm listening to, because you might be different about Miss Johnson.
Right.
But again, bring the kids into the process as well.
Yeah,
love it.
So, Bear, I didn't know if were you going to, because it sounds just like the same thing Kenda Smith said when he was on.
It was exactly.
The same approach.
Thing. No judgment, because he's like, "What are you listening to?" And it's like, yeah. But it's. I find it. I love the connection though when students are willing to tell you, "Don't listen to this because I know it's not appropriate." I love it when they school themselves on something they know is not right, but it's almost like having that, that parent relationship with the child, but they're worried about you. But I love it when kids always want to share that.
And I was in high school when they were like, the language. I said, I'm okay. And I went if you don't judge me, then we can listen to this, right? Okay, so I think that's the big piece.
Yeah. So,
before you came on, Joquetta, we asked our viewers, our audience, to start, fill up the chat with some of their favorite women in hip hop. So we're gonna ask you. You started hinting at some of them already.
I know
So,
they already said like.
yeah.
Someone already said MC Light. Someone already said Lauryn Hill. I think about how can we not talk about Queen Latifah, right? Because Queen Latifah was the first one that I used in a social studies lesson with keys. And the lesson was I had a social studies teacher who I love dearly, and he was doing Sojourner Truth. And I've seen him do Sojourner Truth before, and I said, "Oh, I have this idea. When you talk about Sojourner Truth and you're doing this women's moment, how can we not talk about Queen Latifah?" Because this is right. with the teacher I'm the information specialist. I always told him, you're the content specialist. And when we would do the Queen Latifah, and we would analyze the lyrics, we showed the video. And if you remember the video, I remember the first time I saw the video, like, there's Sojourner Truth. Right in her video when she opened up, right? And it was also about the part-time. All of those pieces were playing in that video. What a powerful. So we did ladies first.
Ladies first. Ladies first. Yeah.
And so they had more loving it, and we were analyzing the pieces. It was like, oh my goodness. So Queen Latifah, but the queen.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. She's the queen.
She's the queen, right.
And then my other favorite, oh my gosh, just superly creative. Missy Elliott.
Thank you. Yes. I was hoping somebody would say her.
I was going to be Missy in the back. Remember, I told you that on the Twitter. There you go.
Her creativity, her
oh
video.
My goodness. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mrs. The Champ. Love it. Yeah. That's good. That's good to get it started. That's good.
Yeah. When you did that tweet, Joquetta, and I asked you, could I be Missy in the background? I can't do any justice, but there you go.
Yes. It's just something about her videos and the creativity is like unbelievable.
Yes.
So
yeah. And when she did the
go ahead, Vera, sorry.
I was just going to say she I think she's my only favorite Super Bowl halftime show. Like she destroyed it. She was great. I thought that was the only one I ever liked, and she's just amazing. And like you said, her energy and her creativity was infectious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But she kind of embodies hip hop. Like you said, that swag. She got the lyrics. She can flip into some songs. She can do the beat.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you said, just creativity embodies that style, fashion.
Yeah.
Edginess.
And I think the other thing like about Queen Latifah is so funny when I was doing because I would have like hip hop day in the library and we did a whole thing of history and I put up Queen Latifah. And what was so funny, there's a body of kids who didn't even know that she was a hip hop artist. Like, because she's not rapping anymore, right? So all they know was Set It Off. And they were like,
of course.
right. They were like, and then she did a lot of movies and I'm like, she's a singer. She can do like she is just so well-rounded, right?
Yes.
She did.
Let's not forget Living Single.
Yes.
You know, that's what Friends was stolen from, but that's another another show.
Yeah, so I absolutely love her. And Eve, okay, can't talk about Eve. Just a plug, if you're not watching the Rough Riders on Chronicles right now.
Tonight, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
After this show, right?
Yes. That's another good one, right?
I got to catch up, right?
Yeah, so that's good too. Yeah. So.
People need to pay us because we're dropping way too many things.
I know, right?
Where's the money?
All of these would be great to have in the classroom and teaching tools.
Yes.
Oh my God, all of those. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
I got him my own school, so I can do teaching everything any way I want to.
Love it. Give me a job, please. Hire me, please. I'll do anything. This is
exactly what it is, Joquetta. Your energy is infectious, and it's true. You're the Missy Elliott for Baltimore County. So speaking of your energy and your job, you also do equity work. You do amazing equity work with the Office of Equity. So speaking of hip hop, how does your equity work show up in hip hop music, and vice versa?
Well, I think it shows up in my work mainly because before I came into, in the office, for me, the whole equity piece is making sure every child gets what they need to meet their academic success, right? Their success. We tap into their social and emotional learning. So for me, if students are not succeeding,
right,
it's not them. What do I need to do to help them succeed? So for me, that means I need to change what I'm doing and speak up. And so for me, I'm not waiting for someone to tell me what needs to be done. I just took what was there. As I always tell people when I talk about curriculum, I see curriculum as the cookbook and you are the chef and the students are your guests. and I have to be able to modify those recipes to meet the needs of my students. Right. And so when I look at curriculum and people writing curriculum, and I've written curriculum before, I know I can write the best curriculum in the world with as culturally responsive to every kid, but it's still about implementing it. It still starts with the fundamental belief that all students can learn. So I don't care what type of curriculum I write. I don't care how culturally responsive it is. If I do not have a deep-seated belief that all my students can succeed and I'm going to do what it needs, it's just what? Another cookbook that my guest gonna come and is not gonna really, really feel it too much. So for me, that's where the equity work comes in, meeting the needs of my kids by any cost. And I think that's where it comes in. I think that hip hop, the equity comes in hip hop because again, it gives a voice to the voice. Those who have their voices are often quiet, right? And it changes the narrative, right? So hip hop, when we look at curriculum, we look at it that is written in a dominant way. Hip hop changes the narrative. I can tell my story through my perspective. It uplifts my cultural capital, right? I can see the value in it. That's why so many students get excited. Even adults when they see themselves and stuff. Wow, right? Don't you get? So why would you think students wouldn't get excited? So I think that is how the equity also shows up in the hip hop, right? Because of that voice.
I never looked. I love the way you. I love food.
Yeah,
we love food.
Yeah,
right. Go ahead, but the way you're saying like curriculum is like a cookbook,
right?
Love that.
That's genius. It's like and then what you create is that. How did you say it? The curriculum is a cookbook.
The chef, right?
Teacher's a chef, right? And the students are the guests.
Right?
And we know not everybody. It's not like Ratatouille. Not everybody can cook.
Right.
Yes. So it depends on the chef, and you can burn it and to totally destroy it. I get it.
Absolutely. And I tell people, for me, when I think of the recipe, right, and you can follow it to the T, right? But it doesn't mean it's going to come out good because you also have to do what? Adjust your oven certain temperatures, right?
Right.
You know what utensils you have. I know when my guests come to my house, I know my niece, she doesn't do pork. So why would I have a pork dish?
Right.
And that's the only thing I'm serving if she doesn't do that. Right. And so I think that's how we have to look at I can't remember who was saying, maybe Chris Emily, we teach students first and then curriculum.
Yes.
If you think that we teach curriculum, then you miss that who it's for.
Right.
It's more like you're just telling it. You're not really teaching it, in my belief. So and when my kids are guests, when you're a guest in my house, the first couple of times you'll guess.
After that, you're not.
Family, right. You know where the stuff is. Go get it.
Yep.
So now we're facilitating, right? So now we're building community. That's how it works. So now you're going to start cooking up some tips. What's wrong with this? What we need to do to make this better? What you want to bring into this? That's their whole piece. Culture is another. Food is another part. All cultures, right? Food.
Yeah, all cultures, right.
Yeah.
This analogy is everything.
Yeah.
I know. And Marzel's making it spicy. Less salt, more pepper.
All day. Yes. Maryland, all day.
I mean, as I think there's a saying in the Black community, you put your foot in it, right?
That's
so
right.
you put all your feet in it, you put all of it in it. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah. That's what teaching is. That's what it is.
I love it. That's so great.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the influence, right? So we started off with some pioneers. You've named some of them. You even touched on Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. So what influence did those female hip hop pioneers have on the music and the culture of current female artists in hip hop?
Well, I think most cultures, they paved the way for what is happening today, right? You can't have your Cardis, your Megans, and all of the rest of our crew without your Queen Latifahs, your Eves, your Rock Shantays, all going to keep going all the way back, right? So they kind of paved the way. Think about Little Kim and Foxy Brown, right? They were, they were the Cardi B's and all of those before Cardi B, right? Oh my gosh, this is
right,
risque.
Right. But I think they paved the way. And I think sometimes we forget, just like most things in history, that we all stand on the shoulders of someone came before us. And I think that's one of the things, when I always do my hip hop pieces, is the history, is try to also help my students understand who came before them. So they can recognize you couldn't have a Beyonce without a so-and-so. You couldn't have without somebody paved the way for all of them today. So I think all of them contribute to who we see today, right? It was interesting. We talk about the women in hip hop. I'll never forget one of my students brought up a good point. She says, "Well, how come there aren't any female hip hop groups anymore?" And I said, that's a really good, like, you don't see too many groups anyway, but I think when we talk about female groups, like there was a bunch and then it stopped. And it makes you think about like how, like they talk about in the documentary, oftentimes they always pitting women against each other.
Right.
Yep.
And it doesn't even have to be in hip hop culture. I mean, it's just like they just pit you against one another, and that makes it exciting. You know, I don't know what it is. Next thing you know, you're fighting and picking, and sometimes it's a riff that ain't even a riff, but it's the one that's been manipulated and massaged to give it more hype. And so I think a lot of the things that we're seeing with female artists as well is also unfortunately due to the marketing. And we have to realize that who's behind the scenes. That's the thing I talk to students about, who's running it. We talk about mainstream, we talk about commercial, we talk about all the artists who you don't see that's on getting airtime.
Correct.
You have to listen. Thank goodness for things like Spotify and all those other platforms who are doing their own streaming. So you can be who you need to be, your authentic self, because a lot of artists can't be who they want to be because they want to sell them or market them to be something that they're not.
Right.
You have to realize, do I need to sell my soul to get, airtime, or do I be authentic and just be over here and just do what I need to do? So I think that's the part too, when you're looking at hip hop and just music in general. When you hear a lot of artists talk about that, you have to make that decision. Market or be authentic.
Right. And it leads us to our next question, really, is do you think female hip hop artists get overlooked for their achievements?
Oh, well, of course, because we're female. We don't even have to be hip hop artists.
Okay, we're done with the show. Bye, everybody. That's it.
Thank you. It's been great.
Right? Peace.
But I think, of course, I mean, again, if you think about a lot who's running behind the scenes, it's mostly men.
Right.
Right? It's the men, and how do you market? You know, sometimes the women say, like, you know, they couldn't keep up with this because women need glam squads, so they cost more money. Like all these other things that the guys may just hop on and do X, Y, and Z, even though we know some men now, their budgets and fashion can be out there too. But sometimes women, they need these glam squads, and the more women you have, the more things, and all of those kind of things contribute to, you know, the cost of being an artist.
Right.
I think, of course, they get overlooked for their achievements. They did some groundbreaking things, but now being able, a lot of artists who are independent, again, thanks to a lot of the streaming services, they can do their own thing and can hold their own.
Right. I think as far as that marketing push, though, like I look at hip hop in general, how, like you said, how commercialized it's been, how the mainstream, if you want to call it that, the messages don't seem to be, number one, as uplifting. They don't really push the social justice as much. So if we talk about that golden era, like when you looked when Queen Latifah and Moni Love and Youngs, and then even how there was a space for Lauryn Hill. I can't even imagine like major label trying to promote a Lauryn Hill to us today. You know what I'm saying? Because, and this is not disparaging, you know, Cardi and Meg, but it's like that's what we're going to push at you. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like you might get a sneak peek at Rhapsody. You might have really dig to find her. And now it seems like they're just cramming like this single message down your throat. And as you pointed out, Joquetta, like all of this has been done before. Like, there were female MCs in every single lane. And I love that you kept going back to Roxanne Shante, because those fierce MCs, and shout out to Natasha, Rod Digger. I mean, you talking about folks like somebody that can run with Busta Rhymes. All that energy. I mean, come on. I mean, you bring in up, and you know, like, so I just like that aspect of like every crew seemed like they knew they had to have like a female MC really hitting hard. And I just hope it comes to a time where things can level out a little bit.
And I think, again, like you said, it's that whole marketing and who's selling. And that's what I talk about when we talk about hip hop as a critical pedagogy and critical analysis of social justice, and having students to critically look at their world and messaging, because you are what you consume.
Right.
And so oftentimes when our students, because often they'll tell you, I'm just listening to the beat. I'm not listening to the words. I understand too. Sometimes I'm just listening to the words too. And let me tell you, some of the strangest things is now the things on satellite radio, remember the radio edits and you never really heard what they were saying because of the radio edits. And then lately, you know, you go hear the real thing, like, oh, Lord have mercy. So that's what they really saying. But you are what you consume. So I'm like, I need to just kind of listen. That's why I say looking at lyrics, looking at vocabulary. And then we have conversations about that. wow, who is marketing this? Who is behind it? Now
Right.
I'm helping you be a critical consumer.
Mhm.
Like, just don't take it in. It's okay to listen and like. I'm like, listen to like what you want. But
Right.
just remember, there's a purpose. Who's the message? That's how we teach literacy skills,
Mhm.
right? We always talk about analyzing, being critical thinkers. Think about the messaging, right? And
Right.
so one of the things I'll never forget, she was talking about the history of hip hop, and I remember showing a primary resource of, okay, we're gonna date myself, 2020. Remember that song? And they were talking about that there's this new thing called rap music, and they're talking over music. It was like
Classic
talking
clip.
over music.
Classic
And-
clip. Yes.
Right, and so in the thing to talk about Blondie, who
Mhm.
kind of brings in the scene because she was Fab Five Freddy, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
it says, Miss Johnson, this was taking place in 80, blah, 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 but hip hop was founded, blah, blah, blah. So why are they talking about all of a sudden it's new?
Mhm. Mhm.
Why is it new?
Good
Is
point.
it new? Is it new to them?
Right.
Right? Now
Right.
is it relevant because they
Mhm.
brought it to the mainstream? Because
Right.
that's how you begin having students to really take a look at what's happening behind the scenes,
Mhm.
how they market and how they sell it.
Right.
And so I think that's an important part of hip hop, right? In
Mhm.
marketing. Once the people realize, because think how many times they couldn't even sell hip hop. They couldn't even get on
Right.
it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then they start crossing over.
Mhm. I mean, I even remember in the 80s when, metal bands, when you had like bands like Anthrax and they were teamed up with Public Enemy,
Yeah.
Right.
or Run DMC and Aerosmith,
Aerosmith,
that's when that's not only the crossover, but you're trying, again, who's behind the scenes. And you have that famous producer, I believe his last name is
Mhm.
Ruben.
Mhm.
And he's the one
Rick
who,
Rubin.
there you go, put it all together. And then, what's the message? Why are they doing that?
Mhm.
And, I mean, who would think Anthrax and, Public Enemy together? I mean, it worked.
Right.
But again, if you think about it, that's all great marketing. And like your student said, why? What's
Right.
going on? Why is it? And, like we can talk about right now when we talk about anti-racist curriculum.
Yeah.
People have been talking about it for decades. Why now?
Because I keep I'll tell all my wife, I said, welcome to the party. Glad you
Right? Yeah.
Right. We've been there for a while.
But they came after all the food is done and they just have a little bit of scraps, right?
You always got them late comers. I said the party's from 3 to 10, and here you
That's
showing
right.
up at midnight trying to make an entrance.
Mhm. Yep, sorry.
Looking
You
for something to eat.
get what you
Right.
get.
Yep.
You get what you get.
Right. So I think those are the kind of key things about the achievements. Yeah.
And Natasha keeps them coming. Her other one's Park Jams as well. So she just keeps it coming.
Yes.
Well, we know, Natasha's also hardcore New York.
Yeah.
She's going to bring out her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Love it. Like I said, they was out in the park in the 70s.
yes.
So, Joquetta, at the top, we talked about you working on your doctoral degree, and just kind of curious, what do you see yourself doing once you have that degree in hand? What you gonna do with that?
One of my idols, you know how y'all got those fans, right? I am a fan of Dr. Bettina Love.
Yes. She's always brought up. I think that we're putting it out there in the universe. Dr. Love, if you're watching, you're coming on our show.
Yes.
You're coming on our
Waiting
show.
for you.
Yes.
I know. And I love Dr. Chris, but what I loved about Dr. Bettina Love, one is that she was doing hip hop in elementary spaces, which people always say is, how do you do this in elementary school? Like, okay, right? So that was always unique. And then she has a whole after school program that she was doing with the hip hop pieces. And for me, I would love to be able to either have a school or after school program where I could teach everything through a hip hop lens. And I think that, like, for example, when I think about school to career, like, think about mixing, soundboarding. Like, our students don't recognize those careers. Like, when we talk about, we always talk about careers, it's always what's up front. That's fine, you want to be the artist. But you know who's going to make the money? The writers.
Yes. Yes.
The people in the back making the sounds.
Love it. Yes.
And that's a job, and they make good money.
Yep.
So I'm like, so you could teach career, you could teach mixing and scratching, soundboarding, lighting, dance, everything.
The science, math, right? You name it, right? Social studies, ELA, of course, your fine arts, right?
Yes.
Because this was our fine art,
right? Like,
absolutely.
We've done I did hip hop in a world language class. So
I can see it.
Can't be done, right? It's all about. We always ask our kids to think outside the box, but we always teach inside of a box. I act like there is no box. Like
Mhm.
you're limited by your imagination and failing forward. If it don't work, it flops. That's part of learning.
Love it.
That's part of learning, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
You learn by failing.
Yes.
Yep.
And how do we make it right? So I would love to do that kind of. I just work with kids because that's the part I miss my students. So does anybody want me to come up and do some lessons with kids? I would love to come and work with students.
And she means it. She
I'm
means
glad
it.
my students.
Right.
He
You got
means
all
it.
the virtual learning. This is the perfect time to do it. You just drop in, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
that's the part.
to answer V's, she's like, who is this for Hip Hop Elementary? We are talking about Dr. Bettina Love.
Yes.
Just Google her. I was introduced to her. I got to see her speak in person. She's fire. She and Doug and I went and saw her speak when she was in Baltimore. People were sitting on the floor just to see her, like maxed out, but she is amazing. And again, Dr. Bettina Love, if you are watching, please contact us. Please. Yes, please. So that's who we have. Absolutely. So we're going to do a couple comments. First of all, again, follow us please on YouTube. And we also have our website at alteredconsulting.com. So please like and share the love. Marzel says financial literacy, of course.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Got your money.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, there's a whole thing on hip hop economics.
Yes, hip hop
Right.
economics. And then Sahad is saying some of her seniors are already producing their own music in their basements. That's awesome.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That is
The technology,
wonderful.
everything's just so accessible now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a beat.
Whew. So now we get to the fun questions. Fun questions. Like all the questions are fun. These
Okay.
are improper English, but funner.
Okay.
So
So good.
my favorite question that I love to ask is if you could have someone sing an entire album dedicated to your life, which artist would you pick and why? They could be living or RIP.
Lord
It's up to you.
The time in my life, who would it be?
Like a Charlie Brown character. She's like,
Okay, Lord, which artist would it be and why?
Mhm.
I'm gonna say
Hmm?
I'm gonna say Queen Latifah. And
Good
I'm gonna tell you
choice.
why. Because she can sing and she got verses. She can drop rhymes. Yeah, either her or like Alicia Keys. Like, yeah. But they can sing and they can rap. And they got acting skills. She can perform.
Yes.
right. Multiple threats. And Joquetta, she's to rock that crown, just like you have in your in your social media avatar.
Yes,
Have that crown on, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
We love that.
Yes, Queen Latifah. Yes.
Okay, so now we have.
Look at V. I don't have to
I know,
talk.
right?
I know, like,
I
go ahead, go ahead, V. You go ahead.
Is that a bit? I triple dog dare ya. So that was my question. I guess my question is lame. I don't know what she's trying to imply. Thanks,
Okay.
V. So this is Doug's baby again. Doug has a lot of babies here, so it's great. His ideas are great. So, give you the picture is.
There you go. There's a 4x4.
Yes,
and I'm gonna tell you, so
Jaquetta,
Jaquetta, I appreciate because I used to struggle with this. So I guess what I'm gonna call them the four pillars, because like you said, hip hop has many elements. And Jaquetta ran them down. But Jaquetta, I'm gonna ask you, we're gonna do the 4x4. So what we're asking you for is to give us 4 of your top artists.
Oh my God.
Can you give us one artist from each of these 4 pillars? So one graffiti artist, one DJ, one breaker, B-boy, B-girl, one hip-hop MC. And since this is closing out, who runs the world? Can we go women top to bottom? Can we just can we do a clean sweep of the system?
Oh my God, I don't know. Let me think. Oh my God.
What you thinking, Catherine? Wait time.
Okay, let me think. Okay. Well, of course, DJ would have to say, Spinderella. So that So MC, wow, that could be a host of them. But I'm gonna go with MC Light just because.
Yes.
For dancing, B-boy, B-girl. I say it was truly B-boy, B-girl, but they did like some hip hop dance, and I'm gonna go with
Jennifer Lopez. No, I'm joking. That's a fly girl.
That's not what they say, because she saw was so a fly girl.
Fly girl, right?
Yep, fly girl. No doubt. Yep.
Right. She also was a fly girl. And so for graffiti artists, wow. And that's a tough one. Graffiti artists. Graffiti artists. Who can I think? Graffiti artists.
V, we stumped her.
Graffiti artists. I'm not sure who I would pick for the graffiti artist. I can't think off the top of my head. Not a single. So I will Terry, female
Graffiti.
graffiti artist.
Ah,
Okay.
And I know they
Okay.
exist, which is a shame.
Who's that?
Love is that my lifeline? Big Liz.
yes.
Oh, Big Les. That's your dancer. Big. Remember Big Les?
That's Big Liz and Rosie Perez. She said, "Those for dancing." Would you give her all the money?
And Big
Yeah.
Les used to have this thing on lock. Big Les was, remember,
Yeah.
she's dancing in the intro for
Yeah.
Living Single, right?
Yeah.
And Big Les used to have, she
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
trying to be like the first, what she say, like the black female action star. She said that was her aspiration. Yeah, Big Les. Shout out Big Les.
So we
All
kind of did stump
Yeah, you did.
Joquetta, but could you give us a graffiti artist though in general? If it doesn't have to be, female, do you have somebody?
I'm trying to think of the guy's name who was based upon Do the Right Thing. But that was a real person.
Yep. Michael Stewart.
Yeah, he was actually the real graffiti artist who did the work and it actually killed.
And Michael Stewart was killed by the cops. And I'm gonna tell you, shout out to Jaquetta for that, because I just learned that doing some research on Public Enemy.
Yeah.
So V's about to take over my segment. So but I will tell you, we've heard Lady Pink before. So shout out to Lady Pink. She is in Wild Style. But I'm gonna do some research too, because we gotta get some more. I guess, definitely some more women graffiti artists. And I think underground nature graffiti.
You're not gonna know.
Right. But definitely part of the culture. And a lot of MCs are actually graffiti artists too, or they used to be. Some of the classic Fat Joe, KRS-One.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was, we always end off our show with our 4x4, Joquetta.
Okay.
So we're so happy that you're able to join us.
Well, I'm so glad you invited me.
I did, and hopefully we'll have more sessions to come. And again, and to the audience, if you would like to collaborate with Joquetta, we'll have more information on our Google sites as well, but also check out her Padlet, which has a ton of information. You will not be sorry, I promise you, as well.
Padlet will be rich.
Yes.
Very rich.
This is our website as well, and please follow us on YouTube. So everybody's thanking us. Great show, Beard Dog. Thanks, Joquetta. Yes, absolutely. I have to share Dominic's quote really quick. He gave us a little bit of a shout out. He's funny. What'd you go, Dominic? He is.
That was way back.
Yes, I got it. He said, 3 of the OGs of BCPS social justice right here.
No pressure. No pressure.
Not at all.
No pressure.
Not at all.
Right.
Not at all. So
that's my partner in crime right there.
Absolutely. That's a great partner in crime.
Right. And then Keith gave him a shout out. You get Keith's comment? Okay.
Keith did say
he
here.
Gave Dominic and Joquetta a nice shout out.
Yes, he said that their PDs are great. If I could find it. So he did also give them to a shout out, which was great. And he don't lie. He says right here, she and Dominic do an amazing job with equity training.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You gotta bring that energy. You gotta bring Dominic on here. You see how he shows up.
Yes.
Jaquetta always brings the energy. She's one of those people, I just holler. She brings the energy through a text message.
I'm on the compass. I'm in my feelings because I don't have those text messages, but we can remedy that.
We can fix that. We're gonna fix that when we get off here. Yes,
that's
absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. I just talk about some food, and I go to my drink after this.
I love it.
All right, you get a hip hop drink ready.
Thank you. Thank you,
Joquetta. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Keep doing great work.
Thank you, hon. All right. Take care.
All right.
That was a great show. It's always fun to have her on the show.
A lot of fun.
Yes.
Audience was on fire. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. I mean, really, I admit I probably sit there and do this even without a beer, to sit there and talk to myself about certain topics, right? But I learned a lot. The energy though that you all share through the chat. I know, like I said, Joquetta she keeps it lively all day and night. So it's it's been great. And Marzel, I don't get me started because we're supposed to be done. But just if you think about like educators that I respect that have been doing this for a while, so very good to see Marzel in the chat. And
when she shows up, she shows up.
She does. She does. And a lot of people got some. We gave some I think pretty good round of folks in the chat. Robin, she usually spends some time with us. Good to see Robin back with us again. So a lot of fun. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves as much as we did.
So next week. So next week kicks off our September series, and the entire month is actually going to be dedicated. And the ideas that we had Work it out.
Work it out.
It's called Brother's Gonna Work It Out.
Work it out.
There you go. Work it out. Work it out. We did August for, Who Runs the World. September is going to be Brother's Gonna Work It Out. We're really, really, really excited to have our special guest, Mr. Will Wells. He's a songwriter, producer, performer. He has worked in the studio and on stage with Quincy Jones. Yes, you heard us right. Barbara Streisand. I know. Imagine Dragons, Logic, Wyclef Jean, DJ Premier, LMFAO, Pentatonics, and many more. He's also, and my daughters are loving this, he has also worked on music for Hamilton.
Yep.
So we are really excited to discuss that and have him on our show next week. So please join us for that. We will we'll also send out our calendar of what the month of September is going to look like, because we have, I think, some amazing heavy hitters that you don't want to miss.
Yes.
So we're happy that we have that. Shout out for our music producer, Corey Carter.
Shout out to Corey Carter.
Yes, the
family is growing, right?
Yes.
So congratulations to the Carter family. Welcome to New Edition in the past, I guess, a week or so, a few days, but so congratulations to
their first girl
and they got 2
5
boys.
generations or something, he said.
Oh, I didn't know, really?
Yes,
wow.
That's crazy. So they got another queen in the house.
Right, that's right.
But if you would like our music, it's produced by Corey Carter. You can find him on Twitter at Mr. Carter Teach. Great music. So again, please subscribe to our YouTube or go to our website for more information. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to just hit us up.
Yep.
All right. So, it's good to see you, Doug, after a 2-week hiatus.
Yes, a bit of a layoff, but I'm back. Feeling good. Feeling good.
Yep. All right. And we'll see everybody next week. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.